All right. This is The Way of the Good Lion, Book 1, Out of the Woodland, Chapter 1, Silver Coins. This is a story about a badger. Not just an ordinary badger that you could imagine. This was a badger that could talk and walk. And you might think that that is strange, but in this world, the woodland, and this version of reality that we find ourselves in for this story, animals are the main characters. And so, it's a story about a badger whose name was William Strongbadger. William was walking one day to the blacksmith shop. He had a fairly decent, loving family, and he was probably about the age, I'm going to go with he was 14. He was a younger teenager, but pretty much a man. Well, a badger man, if you will. He was on the way to the village's blacksmith. He was going there because he had a job there. Now, he didn't have a job earning money like you might expect him to. He had a job there trying to pay back the owner for something. You see, earlier in the summer, William had gotten into some trouble. You see, he had a friend who was a lion, and that lion got up to some mischief and had encouraged William to throw stones at the blacksmith shop. And well, one of those stones broke the window. Well, the lion took off running, but the badger, William, he was caught. And so now, the blacksmith owner, who was a fairly large but very nice pig with a big black beard, whose name was Alfred Hampson. Alfred Hampson had found William Strongbadger outside his blacksmith shop and had called upon his father, went to William's house and told his father what had happened and told his father what he would want William to do. To work for the rest of the summer in the blacksmith shop to pay back for the broken window. And of course, mainly to teach William a lesson about being responsible. Well, Alfred Hampson knew William's father because William's father, his name was Thomas Strongbadger, and Thomas Strongbadger was the pastor of the local church. That's right, William Strongbadger was a pastor's boy. So, one fine late summer morning, William was on the way to work. He was kicking stones on the way, dragging his heels a little bit. He didn't have the greatest of sleep. You see, it was a full moon the previous night, and he had spent a lot of the evening just staring out the window looking at it. So, there he went, lazily and somberly heading toward the blacksmith shop, leaving his home toward the middle of the village where there was a market and all kinds of shops and industries, along with Alfred Hampson's blacksmith shop. On the way, William saw a little toad, a frog, if you will. It wasn't a normal-looking frog, which is rather plump and wet and oily and friendly. No, this was a young frog who, sure, he was friendly, but he was skinny, almost too skinny for any frog. Caught William's eye. "Well, hi there," William said. The frog was just sitting there on the side of the path, just taking his webbed feet, flipping it in the sandy ground. "Hi," said the little frog. "Say, I don't think I've seen you before." "No," said the frog. "I only hatched recently. Oh, me and my siblings. I have 4 brothers and 2 sisters, you know. We're new, and, well, When we hatched from tadpoles, there was no mama or papa waiting for us. That was rather odd. No mother or father, William said. Well, I figure frog young need a mother and father. What happened? Well, that I don't know, said the frog. My name's William, said the badger. What's your name? The frog looked puzzled. Ribbit? I guess we haven't really thought of names for ourselves just yet. William got really sad thinking about the disposition and the position of this frog and his family. Abandoned, hungry, nameless. William thought in his mind that after he left, he found out where the frog lived, and they lived by a stream which wasn't too far from them. He had it in mind that he was going to possibly purchase some bread for this lovely little frog kids to try to feed them, get some meat back on those little bones. And so he went by the baker's. And now he was walking a bit swiftly because he knew that Alfred Hampson was going to expect him into work soon. So he walked a little bit swifter to the baker's shop. The baker was a mule named Sally. Sally Mulehouse, I guess you could call her. Sally was making the fresh rounds of bread and cinnamon buns and all kinds of wonderful pretzels and whatnot. The air smelled amazing around Sally's shop. Hi, Miss Mulehouse, William called from the window. Say, how much for a loaf of your wonderful pumpernickel bread? Actually, first he'll ask her if she has any scraps that she could spare. Well, I don't have any right now, she said. Just the beginning of the day, and I'm making everything fresh. But come back at the end of the day, and I might have some stales for you. Things that didn't sell or whatnot, or half cakes. We'll see. Thanks, it's not for me. It's for, well, I've met a little gang of frogs. A new family, I suppose. But no parents, and the kids are hungry. Oh, well, that's fine and dandy. You take what I have left at the end of the day, and it'll be yours. Okay, thank you. And let's say I did buy a loaf of pumpernickel, fresh and hot. How much would that be? Well, that'd be a silver coin. Just one indeed. For you, okay, lad? Thank you so much, Sally, or Mr. Mulehouse, William called. Then he jogged on toward his job. Alfred Hampson was waiting him, and didn't look too displeased with him being a little bit tardy. It was perfectly fine. And he put William to work. William thought and thought long about that frog boy, Ribbit, he had met, and possibly the 4 brothers and 2 sisters that he had waiting for him by the stream. What a responsibility. William was an older brother, too. He had a younger brother who was half his age. His name was Jackson Strongbadger. Jackson was a feisty little guy, but William didn't have to take care of him. That was his mother and father's job. So, as he worked in the blacksmith shop, I suppose maybe you're wondering what he did there. Blacksmith made all kinds of tools and repaired all kinds of things. William was mainly, at first, just cleaning around, but as he watched Alfred Hampson work at the forge and whatnot, he got a little excited. This seemed fun. Making things, hoes and spears and whatnot. This was kind of cool. The woodland that William lived in didn't really require swords. It was actually a very safe place. But every now and again you could make a weapon. It'd be kind of nice to see. There's some boys who like to have them. Various things and whatnot. Maybe they go fishing and want to skin something themselves. William had an idea just then. Instead of taking his lunch break and heading home for the meal that his mother had prepared for him, he would work. And he would make something to sell. So he asked Alfred Hampson, have any scrap metal that I could have? Oh, you know there's tons, but we always use them for repairs. What do you need? I should like to make a dagger, a really nice one, said William. Oh, well then maybe just get some steel. I think an old wheel cart was brought the other year, or the other week. Maybe see if the rims are still good. So, William went to the back. Sure enough, there was an old wheel cart, broken down. One of the wheels had a steel rim around it for stability. Well, during his lunch break, he pried away the spokes and got the little bits of steel out. Then he molded it down, melted it down, hammered it down, and made it into a fine little blade. Well, now he would have to make for himself a handle. So, he didn't do it that day, but when he got home, he found for himself a nice piece of oak, and he spent the evening carving it into a handle. He thought to himself, wouldn't it be cool to make a frog head handle out of memory for Ribbit? If he was to sell this dagger for money to buy bread, how excellent would it be to tell the tale in order to sell it? Well, now he was thinking like a salesman. When he got home, he spoke to his mother and father about the day. He had mentioned the frogs. They seemed concerned to a point, but rather uninterested. Well, the family ate their meal, a very fat meal of rich food and whatnot, with merriment. William was hungry. He had a very big appetite. That night, he lay in his bed, continuing to work on carving the handle. He himself had a little pocket knife, and he carved that oak shaft into a wonderful little frog head. He was good at carving, you see. Lots of practice he had in his spare time, especially now that he wasn't allowed to hang out with that lion that ran about. Or that lion that used to be his friend. The next day went as you could expect. He gingerly made his way toward the blacksmith shop. There he just forged the weapon. He inserted the handle into the part of the steel blade and tied it together, and there he had his dagger upon his lunch break, of course, not during company hours. And there he took it afterwards to the market. He actually asked Alfred Hampson if he could have leave early. And I suppose this is a good time to remember that the previous night he was supposed to go back to Sally Mulehouse. I completely forgot about that detail. So he did, and he found that she did indeed have half of a large round pumpkin cake and a good fair portion of a nice long loaf of bread. She even seasoned it with garlic butter. So there he found for himself Ribbit after his work shift and on the way home. That was the previous day. And now that we're caught up with that, and I've filled in that plot hole, he gets leave from Alfred Hampson to go and sell the dagger. He goes to the marketplace, and he finds for himself a nice booth. There's an old man there selling canes and whatnot. He says, hello. The old man was a muskrat who had, I suppose, found wonderful sticks and whatnot from the river and fashioned them into canes of all sorts. Hi, Mr. Muskrat, said William Strongbadger. I have made this dagger, and I should like to tell you the story of it. And he told the muskrat the story. Muskrat laughed. It's a pretty good story, son. Say, I'll take it off your hands for three silver coins. Oh, splendid, said William. That'll be enough food for nearly a month. Oh, thank you, sir, thank you. And there he gave the dagger to the muskrat, and the muskrat gave him 3 silver coins. Clink, 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 they went into his paw. William put them in his pocket, very proud, and he hurried home. Oh, he was excited to tell his parents. Look what I did. I did this and I did that, he said, and explained the whole story to his mother and father, and they were pretty happy to hear about it as well. So then the next day was it was Saturday the next day, and he still found his way into the village, and there he found Sally Mulehouse was making a nice big round fresh bake of pumpernickel bread. He bought one for 1 silver coin and brought it to Ribbit. They had already worked through the leftover garlic buttered bread and the half of the pumpkin cake. This pumpernickel loaf, I should tell you, was massive. Came in a burlap sack and was used for all kinds of festivities. It was quite delicious too. Raisins and nuts. It was very filling. Oh, Ribbit and his siblings were just thrilled when they saw William round the corner of a tree and see them by the stream. He put the sack down and said, "There, how's this look? Oh, it smelled delicious." The kids jumped in and each took a piece. Ribbit told him that this was probably going to last them a week and a half, maybe even 2, if they could spread it. And William thought, well, I was able to make this in just 2 days. That feels really very nice. Maybe I'll do it again. Find you again. Oh, you shouldn't go hungry here in the woodland. This is a place of prosperity, right? Ribbit laughed. That's what people say. So, William spent the rest of the day in his own mind, thinking about how there could be such poor people living next to him. He's living wealthily. But the next day was church. And church usually was a very exciting place to be. Critters of all kinds from the woodland gathered round. Mice and rabbits, badgers, even sometimes they'd have a big old bear lumber in and stand at the back. His father, again, Thomas Strongbadger, was the pastor. He stood up and preached a sermon about giving, preached a sermon about the good lion. I guess this would be a good time for me to tell you about the good lion. I'm sure you know him in your world. He was a lion, the Lord, the creator of all the creatures. He came one day as a lion to demonstrate his love for the creatures, to please the judgment for all the sins done by the creatures, past, present, and future. He gave himself up as a sacrifice, but rose from the dead and ascended on high. Well, for sure you know who this good lion is. Well, he established the way, a way for critters to live at peace with one another and at peace, most importantly, with their creator, the good lion himself. And this was the message that Thomas Strongbadger preached almost every single Sunday, which they called the Lion's Day. Or the Good Lion's Day, I suppose. In fact, the Good Lion's Day was one of the best, if not the best day of the week for William and most of the creatures. The day where they could come into the good lion's house, into his church, and to worship him, sing songs, and hear messages just like that. And of course, there was a wonderful image at the front of the church. Maybe yours has a cross, maybe yours has a stone rolled away. But this image was almost like the outline of a mane, and it reminded everybody that the creator of all the creatures had come one day in the flesh as a lion with a great mane, and his mane was shorn, and his body was beaten and slain for them. And so this image of the mane was at the front, and it just looked beautiful and reminded them of the good lion. And the church itself was wonderfully adorned with wood overlaid throughout. And it was very beautiful. The windows were clear and you could see the sun shining almost every single one of the Good Lion's days. And typically after church there would be festivities and a lunch where all the creatures and critters brought forth something that they had made, and it was just a great time. Well, near the end of the service, would you believe, a lion walked up the aisle. Now, this wasn't very peculiar to William. It might be peculiar to you, but this actually was a regular happenstance. Every now and again, a lion would come to service. And while if you know that the good lion had come as a lion, then all other lions were pretty special. At least, that's what everybody said. Now, the lions, they did not attend this church. In fact, they wouldn't even say that they were a part of the same faith as the critters that gathered on the Good Lion's Day. And yet they would call themselves the vicars of the good lion. They referred to him as the true lion, and they would say that he was their vicars, and vicar simply means a representative. But in a deeper sense, they were referring to themselves as the very image of the lion, the very image of the good lion, were these lions on earth, if that makes sense. The good lion is up in heaven, and the lions that were left down in the woodland were his people. Not just his people, but his images, his representatives, his priests, and all critters who followed the good lion were to follow the lions themselves. So by calling this lion and the lions the vicars of the good lion, they were saying that they were his representatives on earth, his people on earth. In fact, even himself on earth through these lions. And so everybody felt like these lions were very important if they were to believe and follow those things. This lion had a long purple robe on, and even if you'd believe it, a copper crown upon his head. He walked up the aisle, saluted himself to Pastor Thomas Strongbadger, William's father, and then baskets were passed left and right by the elders. A bunch of men. One was a gecko. One was a border collie. Another was I don't know, various critters. A rat, sure. These elders were passing the baskets back and forth, collecting tithes, money, coins, and they were being passed to the center and given to the lion. And the lion was going to walk out with them. And this was a tribute that the people paid to the lion, because he was one of the good lion's people, the true people of the good lion. And so, without further ado, the basket came to him. Well, William usually passed up the basket, but now he had 2 silver coins in his pocket. If you remember, he used one to buy the pumpernickel loaf, and now he had 2. Well, his mother nudged him in the side. "Put a coin in, son." "Really?" he said. I have to? "Well, yes, it's going to the lion. Do it now, son." William looked to the left and saw the lion was looking at him, standing there, tall, with a very well-combed mane, even had a braided part of it. Okay, he took a silver coin out of his pocket and went clink. While the lion looked at him a little closer. Oh, William knew. This lion understood that there was another coin in his pocket. His mother put her paw on his knee. Maybe the other one too. So he felt for this other silver coin and put it into the basket and passed it down the aisle. And the whole church was plundered in such a peaceful way, getting these tithes. Before long, 1 sack full of coins was brought to the lion, and he exited the church, not without saying a blessing. "Bless you, followers of the way of the good lion. I, a lion, a representative of the true lion, bless you. While you say he has come, I say he will come, and therefore we are brothers." And then with that, the lion left. He would come back again some other day. He wasn't a regular. He wasn't an elder. He wasn't the pastor. And where was that money going? All these things were rattling around in William's head. He couldn't help but feel that he had been robbed. A tithe. I thought tithes were supposed to go to the good lion, he thought to himself. Then he thought maybe he needed to study the topic a bit more. So with that, he set home to do just that. Well, reading the Way, which is simply just the book that the good lion left for them to read, reading about it, the story of all the teachings of the good lion, he found out all of your riches and wealth were supposed to be given to the good lion. But in alms, giving to the poor, giving to the needy, giving to the widows, giving to the orphans, giving to those like the frogs, a frog family, not to rich, wealthy lions. Just because they were the same kind of critter as the good lion himself, doesn't mean that they should receive the alms, does it? All of a sudden, William realized maybe everything they were doing, especially this part, was wrong. And I'll tell you, that was the first seed of doubt that William had toward the faith of the Woodland, the faith of his father. And in fact, he started to doubt the way of the good lion altogether.